Hey, the good folks over at Armor, they've got an interesting thing going on with their Auto-Jig. And we're going to learn more about this in the video, but they've got these pocket hole screws right here that are color-coded. And the jig will show you which screw you should be using for the material that you're putting pocket holes in. It's a great system. I'm excited to try it out. Hey, I think this right here is going to be outstanding especially for beginner woodworkers. When you get a little confused about all your different screw sizes, what you should use, the different thicknesses of your material, it can get confusing when you're brand new. I understand that. And this, I think, is going to solve a lot of those problems. For those experienced woodworkers, for those seasoned woodworkers, you may or may not care about the color-coded system. That's up for you to decide. But as we get older, we get forgetful. We might need this too. So we have screws here for coarse thread and fine thread, so for softwood and for hardwood. Armor Tool Auto-Jig makes joining wood fast, accurate, and easy. Auto-adjust to wood thickness, auto-adjust drill bit depth, adjustable clamping force, opposable dust collection port, color-coded screw selection are just some of the features of this great tool right here. Well, we don't know if it's great yet. We're going to have to try it out. All right, let's open it up and see. Get our very first impressions here. And then later in the video, we'll find out if it's worth a hill of beans or not. Yeah, I grew up in the South. Okay, first thoughts, right off the bat. Very similar in size and design of the Kreg K4 and I guess the K5. I don't have one, but the K5 that we all have come to enjoy and love. So I like that. We're not talking about an aerospace design like the 720. So right off the bat, I like that because, hey, I'm going to use one of their new clamps here. We'll monkey with this a little bit later and figure it out, but I can clamp this thing down where I couldn't clamp the 720. All right, so quick review. I'm liking what I'm seeing, but that's not saying much until we test it out and go around and look at all the features. So I'm going to get familiar with it and then come right back to you. Okay, before we go any further, I want you to know Armor Tool does not sponsor this video. I don't sign sponsorship agreements, and I'm under no obligation to say only the nice things about their products. I normally use my own money to purchase tools that I review on this channel. However, Armor did offer to send me their Auto-Jig for review here on this channel. I told them they would be at their own risk because I would say what I felt needed to be said about their product. I'm going to let you know what I like and what I don't like. And they told me they're confident in their product and they shipped it to me. So the question everybody wants to know is the Auto-Jig as good as the Kreg jigs? It's better. In my opinion, it's much better. And here's what I like and a few things I don't like. There's a lot of things I like about this jig and a couple of things I don't. I do like the looks of the jig and that it's not an aerospace design. It does have points on the end and one in the front that allows us to clamp it to our bench easily. There's also screw holes pre-drilled for those of you that want to mount it to a board. I really like the self-adjusting auto clamp. The clamp, you can manipulate the clamp and it's very smooth. And it works like this. You take your piece of stock, you drop it in, you pull the clamp closed, then you lock it down. It's in there, it's in place. Release the clamp, open it up, remove your stock, grab a bigger piece of stock, drop it in, close it up, clamp it down, and it's in there. You're ready to drill your holes. I really like this feature. Another auto feature that it has is being able to set the depth on your drill bit. Now it works great, but it's probably a feature that I'm not going to use very often. Here's how it works. When you drop your stock in and you close the clamp and you lock it down, if you notice right here, the collar slides along the drill bit. So when the clamp reaches the correct width for your stock, the collar is already set on your bit. You just need to tighten it down. There's a wrench right here. Pop out the wrench. Tighten down that little hex screw. Pop out the drill bit. It's automatically set and you're ready to go. If you put it back in, take your wrench, loosen up your collar. Now it's ready to go for next time. Open up your clamp. Maybe you got a thicker piece of stock. You drop that thicker piece of stock in there. Now a thicker piece of stock fits in there fairly snug already, so there's not much manipulation here of the clamp. It's already right there. You got maybe a 1/16 of an inch play there. You can just clamp it down. Your collar is already set for the thicker stock. Grab your wrench, tighten it up, pull it out, and you're ready to go. What I don't care for about this feature is that if the drill bit is inserted into the holder, and maybe the last time you used it, you forgot to loosen up this collar, you can try to manipulate and open up the clamp, but the clamp is tight because it's being held right here by this collar that's holding onto the bit. So you have to loosen up the collar so that it'll slide freely. And now it moves. For me in my shop, it's a little cumbersome to adjust the collar on the bit every single time I want to use the jig. Have it sitting in here where it's all locked in, and remembering that I have to loosen it each time. I don't care for that so much, but let me explain to you what I did with my Kreg jig. When using my Kreg jig, of course, it had the adjustment on the side where you just drop your bit in and you line your bit up with whatever depth here that you were working with, and then you could tighten your collar down. I didn't like that feature either. So I purchased 2 bits. I have one set for 3/4 and one set for 1.5 inches. And that's how I'll be using this jig here. I'll always have more than one drill bit. In fact, I have 2, and I may add a third one for a 1/2 inch because I use that often. I'll simply have the collar set all the time, so I will not be storing the drill bit inside the holder. Now, I reached out to Armor about this little problem and suggested to them that a lot of viewers are going to think that's a little cumbersome every time to have to adjust the collar on their bit. And here's what they told me. You're right, and we're going to look into it. I suggested that they simply add a storage compartment on the other side for us to store the bits that are already set, and it gives us extra storage. And they said they jump right on that. Now, one thing I noticed on the Armor website, they have a page out there that says, if you have ideas and innovations, contact them, because they're more than happy to try to make the type of stuff, the type of tools that we need to use. And since I had already seen that information, I was impressed when I suggested this little upgrade that they said, hey, good idea. We're going to look right into that. So I don't think we're going to have to wait for years down the road for another evolution of the jig to come out for us to see a change like that happen. I think that's something that we'll see in the near future. We talked about the color-coded screws. Right here on the side of the drill guide, they have this little graph. And depending on what size stock you slip into the jig, it's going to tell you what size it is. When I grab a piece of stock and slip it in there, this little graph right here tells me it's an 1.5 inch thick piece of wood. The graph right below it, if you look down and you see an 1.5 inch piece of wood, it's color coded and it's going to tell you what color screw you need for this size wood. Now, I've identified a flaw, and I've already contacted Armor, and they've agreed, and they're going to make this adjustment here real soon too. And that is, on this chart right here, the colors don't exactly match up with the color codes that they have here. And when you get to 1.5 inches, and I'll try to zoom in so you can see it, this color here is actually red, whereas down here for 1.5 inches, it's orange. The confusion lies if you think that, oh, it's red, and you grab a red screw, it's only 1.25 inch screw, when in reality, you do need the orange screw, which is a 2.5 inch screw. For those of us who are seasoned, more experienced woodworkers, we're probably not even going to look at this graph. I know I need a 2.5-inch screw if I'm going to be working with 1.5-inch stock, or an 1.25-inch screw if I'm working with a 3/4-inch stock. Most of us probably won't even refer to this graph, so it's not a big deal. It's not a showstopper by any means. On the back of the jig, we have our dust collection. The dust collection port pops right off. I like that it's clear, so you can see if it's starting to get jammed up or if there's something going on in there. It's easy to slide in and out. It's got these little tabs here on the side. It allows you to slide right behind it, and it's nice and secure. It's a durable plastic. When you get ready to hook up dust collection to it, I did find out that it does not fit with the universal adapter that I picked up from Rockler. This is just an old one that I have. I wanted to try it. It's too big. But what does work, so at the home center you can pick up these little adapters. You can find these over near the shop vacs, and they come nested. There's actually 3 pieces that come together, so it's going to look kind of small like this. I use these a lot for various tools that I have in the shop. And this fits nicely right there so that I can hook up my 2.5-inch hose for dust collection. On the bottom of the jig, you do have a bit holder for your drill driver. It tucks in right there. And there is more space here, possibly. Maybe we'll find some additional storage there in the future. I like that it's really hard plastic. This is very durable. Unlike the new 720 that just came out, which has a much thinner plastic, this is much like the K4 and K5. It's really thick plastic, really heavy duty. No concern about durability. If you're wondering, yes, your Kreg drill bits are the same size. They'll fit just fine. And of course, if you have Kreg screws, you're going to continue to be able to use them too, because it drills the same pocket hole. A few minutes ago, I told you I had a little intel on the Armor clamps. So a little backstory about Armor. Armor started out developing technology that they patented, and then they would license it to other companies. You'll find their technology in tools like Craftsman, Stanley, and some others, even though you've never heard of Armor Tool Company themselves. It wasn't until just a couple of years ago that they started pulling back some of those patents and decided to start making tools themselves. Well, guess who had the license to their technology for clamps? Kreg Tool Company. So up until a couple of years ago, Kreg clamps used the Armor self-adjusting technology in their clamps. Today, Kreg uses a different technology. And if you've been using their clamps the last couple of years, one thing you may have noticed is that they jam up a lot. When you're trying to use them and clamp them down, that auto feature doesn't always work. Sometimes it's jammed up, and you have to manipulate the tension and loosen it or tighten it and try again, and to get the clamp to work. The short time I've been using these clamps by Armor, they haven't jammed up at all, because they use a cam lock system, and it's very smooth, and I like it a lot. Armor put out a video comparing the Kreg clamp and their clamp, and I'm going to put a link to it right up here. You need to go check out that video, because they do a very good job of explaining the technology that's in the two and why that the Armor clamp is so much better than Kreg. So what do I think overall about the Armor Auto-Jig? It's a great jig. It's going to be in my shop. This is the one I'm going to be using for years to come. It's at a similar price point to the Kreg jigs. For those of you still watching this video, I'm going to tell you how you can upgrade to this Auto-Jig and possibly save $70. Armor Tool, for a limited time, is offering an upgrade from the K4, the K5, the Harbor Freight version of the Pocket Hole Jig. If you own one of these jigs, you can send your jig into Armor. They will give you a $70 credit on their jig. Here's how it works. There'll be a link in the description below to their website. Read the information about the upgrade program, fill out the form, and let them know what jig you would like to upgrade. Now, it takes a few days, but once you're approved, you can mail your jig to them, and then within about a week, you're going to get an email with a credit for $70 that you can use online. Now, your old jig doesn't have to be in working order. It can be broke. As long as it contains all the major components, they'll accept it. They're also making it easier for you because you can buy a shipping label right off their website that'll cost you about $6. That's going to be cheaper than if you take your box to FedEx, UPS, or the post office yourself and try to ship it. If you don't have anything to upgrade and you're ready to make a purchase on this jig, there will be links in the description below where you can find it on Amazon. They've got multiple kits available with different screw packs, with or without clamps, so they've got a price point for everyone. Hey, if you like this product review and you found it helpful, please give me that thumbs up. For every person that gives me a thumbs up, YouTube shares this video with someone else, and that's how this channel grows. And I could use your support. I'm going to pop up a couple more videos right over here that you may enjoy, so stick around.